Hey, good morning. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal, here at the 18th hole at the Zurich Classic with Albert Nicaud. Good morning, Albert.
Good morning, Doug. How are you, man?
Good, good. Beautiful setup you got here.
Yeah, if you've never been, I know it's sold out. So next year, get your tickets early. But the Champions Club and it's called Best of Zurich. But it's a new setup, and of course, I'm on the board with the Hospitality Foundation, and the Hospitality Foundation is charged with running and setting up and serving all the food venues at these locations at 17 and 18. And some of the best restaurants in the city of New Orleans are involved. I was here yesterday. The food is amazing. The weather's great. As you can hear, the wind is rather gusty, and we're probably looking at 20-mile-an-hour winds, 25-mile-an-hour winds. So the golfers are going to have a bit of a struggle, I guess, playing the wind, playing the greens, playing the fairways. But we are right here at the 18th green, looking out at the gorgeous day. It's overcast, so it's not going to be super hot. There's plenty tickets for sale for just general admission, and it's a great day to go follow your favorite golfer. It's a real neat setup too here at Zurich. A couple of days ago, it was best hole, so there's a partnership, and each the teams of two, and so the best who shot the best hole. So somebody shot a four, someone shot a three on a hole. They go with the lowest score. Yesterday was best ball, so it's almost like a scramble. If you played the scramble, where whoever hits the best ball, that's where you play the next. Both players where they the next shot from. And then today is every other shot. So one of the team members would tee off, and the next team member would hit the next ball and the next ball, and so on until it's in the cup. So it's a real interesting format. The players love to come out and play. They love New Orleans. They love the food, the hospitality that's associated with this. It's a great tournament. It's a great tournament. It really is. And let me tell you, I guess it's a different target market, but it's a whole different group, I guess, than the jazz festers. And let me tell you, it's packed. It's lots of people, lots of fun, beautiful days.
Well, whoever came up with the format for paired is a brilliant idea, because it really distinguished itself from the other events. Because we sort of got lost a little bit. It's just another event, aside from New Orleans.
I agree.
And one of the things about golf is it's an individual sport, but one of the things that makes the Ryder Cup and the great is it becomes a team sport, because you're playing for someone else besides yourself. And that's what you see out here, because you have a player playing for someone else besides themselves, and it's fun to watch the partner get as happy about a great shot than the person who shot it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think when you're playing for somebody else, you might even play a little better. You might even say, "Gee, I need to impress this guy. This is one of my competition all these years. I don't want to screw this hole up. I don't want to, miss that putt. I'm gonna really focus and play." And of course, the scores are ridiculous because you're playing best ball, you're playing best hole, but it's all fun. It's a great time, and the weather's beautiful. It's a great package too. Next year, if you're at all into golf, I would suggest getting online early and purchasing your tickets early, because we did sell out Friday, Saturday, and today for the Best of Zurich, which are these two amazing tents, probably 200-300 feet long each. 10 different restaurants, open bar at either end.
And you're overlooking the 18th hole.
You're overlooking 18. And we might get a look at Tripod. Tripod is the three-legged alligator that lives in that lake. If you've ever watched this tournament on TV, the out-of-state announcers really love the fact that you're out there about to hit in the fairway, and this alligator comes up onto the shore and just kind of watches you swim. So it's a fun time. Of course, Jazz Fest is going on right now. It's, to me, better than Mardi Gras in terms of New Orleans. All of the eccentrics come out of the little crannies and nooks, and even people who aren't eccentric during the week. During the rest of the year, wear their Mardi Gras, their Jazz Fest attire.
I've never been to Jazz Fest. Obviously been to Mardi Gras Parade. I always wonder, where do they live? Half the people I see. It's just like where they do. But
again, I think
it's fun. That's part of New Orleans.
Part of that is and maybe they don't act silly or act hippie-ish or act whatever the case may be during the year, but this is their opportunity to grow their little man bun and wear their Hawaiian shirt. So anyway, I love Jazz Fest. I try to go every year at least one day, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. And what a great thing for this city. But we had a football draft this past weekend. Huh?
Well, it all lands on the same weekend, and one general comment. I'm from the era. I think my first draft was 1988 when I was working as an agent. Was the football and the helmet deal when they rented the Sheraton Hotel in New York,
Uh-huh.
and it's a little conference room that's probably nice size and they had the telephone in the helmet. It was very antiquated, and it was no big deal.
Right.
We picked whoever, John Elway. Oh yeah. Next one. But now, I think the NFL was brilliant in the marketing of the NFL draft. Because I would say that the ratings for the draft was 3 or 4 times more than the NBA playoffs. And this is just picking players.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, it's quite an event. And if you saw any of it in the beginning where they were building that big hangar, they built this big, amazing hangar that fit 200,000 people. Just for the event. And so I don't know if they're going to keep the structure up or if they're going to remove it or what Detroit's going to do. But it's a pretty expensive temporary building if that's what they're looking at. You're hearing a little background noise, I'm sure, with some breeze. The winds are going to be pretty high today, and I think the players are going to have to struggle with that. It might slow some of those crazy fast scores out a little bit.
Well, you're looking at the 18th hole here. You have water that borders the entire right side of the hole, maybe 400 yards.
Yeah.
And then, so you basically you have to stay left.
Yep.
And then the green sort of angles back to the right. So it's one of those classic finishing holes. You can either birdie or bogey. This is easy. So it's just a beautiful setup out here. What do you think about any thoughts on the Saints draft?
I hate to be the negative in the punch bowl, right? But I like this Fargo pick, the first pick, but I really don't because he's a right tackle, and he played right tackle in college for a reason, and not left tackle. We need a left tackle. We don't have a left tackle. We tried Trevor Penning there, and he kept getting blown up. He didn't have the footwork for it. And so I just, I think he's going to be a great pick. I think he's going to be with the Saints a long time. There are two schools of thought. You draft for need. You just draft the best player available. I think, like I said, I think he's going to be with the Saints a long time. I think he's probably going to be a starter for a long time. Second round, I like the pick. I like the player. You can't have too many cornerbacks, but we need a wide receiver. How great would it be for the offense to have another Olave lining up on the other side, right? Another top 5 or 6 wide receiver on the other side. In the first 3 rounds, 16 wide receivers went. So by the time we got to a wide receiver, I think he's like, you know,
Right.
yeah, he's way down the depth chart in terms of wide receivers.
Well,
And
he's
so I mean, it's not a bad thing to have a guy in there that can, you know, maybe can surprise people.
well
I love the linebacker pick.
yeah.
I think that was the best pick of the draft. Um, you know, but and Rattler, you know, he's a guy that is not expecting to be a starter in a year.
Yeah, he could sit for 4 years.
Yes, he can sit exactly. So you know, there's some expectations you need to manage as a front office, and if you pick a Penix, right? Here's a guy who's you know was probably a few votes shy of being a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's expecting that he's going to start very soon. Um, so, and maybe that's in their plans. Maybe it's looking
But
like
he's
Cousins
24
isn't gonna work
also.
out.
He's 24 years old, so it's not like he's a young 21-year-old
Exactly.
quarterback. So
Yeah, but Rattler, I think, realized he bounced around he bounced around college a little bit. He played a couple of different teams. He ended up at South Carolina, which made him really very good, made him very competitive, but you know, not a major power football team. So I don't know that his expectations are to come in and start in a year. And if he does, if something should happen to Derek Carr and he's ready, that's landing.
Rattler was actually the number one quarterback coming out his high school. He was the number one. He went to Oklahoma. Caleb Williams actually ultimately beat him out, and they benched him. He went to South Carolina. So he can make all the throws. It's just he was very erratic, very inconsistent, and a lot has to do with youth. I mean, if you're a true freshman played Oklahoma, very few people can go ahead and start and be a seasoned veteran or play like a seasoned veteran. So I think a fifth round pick. I think it's good value.
Oh, it's a perfect value. No, I like that pick a lot, and I think he went right where he should go. Um, you know, and again, he's mature, which makes a big difference. Just physical maturity and mental maturity, and he's played a lot of games. He's, you know, I'm a minutes guy, right? He's played a lot of minutes.
Right.
He's been on the field, and so you can't trade that for anything. The above means wide receiver in the fifth round. Yeah, it's the fifth round, but like I'm reading his bio here. He was honorable mention All ACC. So he's not even the top wide receiver, first, second, you know, in the ACC. He's just a real lower T guy. They must see something in him at Pitt. But
Well, he has a higher ceiling with his physical attributes, his what I call his national anthem attributes, what he looks like prior to the national anthem, as far as speed, size, that sort of thing. Now,
looks great getting off the bus.
that's right, but Pittsburgh last year did not really have good quarterback play, and so question was the person not, you know, the quarterback able to get him the ball? Was he able to showcase his talents? And that's where you get your steals, is that you find someone in the system who wasn't utilized for their strengths, but it's sort of dormant, but you see it and you bring them in and you get high value for it. So, you know, I don't get swept away with, you know, like the 30 other two other teams. Well, we had a great draft. This is going to take us over time. You just don't know. It's the bottom line is you really don't know, and you have to see it. And before then, I think, as Cullen said back at the studio very well, he said, Saints taking the offensive tackle in the first round is like eating your vegetables. You know, they had to do that. It wasn't a sexy pick.
But why don't you find the best left tackle on the board?
Because they,
you know what I mean? Because that's what you need.
But their grade was probably a second or third round pick, and they figured that would be good value. And that's probably why they did that. But if so, you really have to see it because you really have no idea, and that's sort of the beauty of the draft. You have eternal optimism among all 31 teams except for Atlanta. So I'll take Atlanta out there.
Yeah, good.
Now that was a puzzling pick I want to, I'm glad Atlanta did that for the Saints in the short term because their number one pick is not going to have an impact
Right.
on any time in the next couple of years unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt. So, interesting pick. You have to be very secure in your job to do that. That's for sure.
Yep.
Well,
and then the Saints linebacker, I love that pick. This kid from Texas,
Jalen.
He started
Jalen
29
Ford.
games. That's a lot of games. You're on the field. You're seeing down in distant circumstances. You're watching what quarterbacks and offensive schemes are. And he actually played in 49 games. So it's not like this guy just played for about for a year, sat behind somebody. He's a stud. He's got physical attributes. He's fast.
Well, I think one thing. If you had Ron Johnson today, he might not make it in the NFL because he was a thumper, or he might have a very limited role. But the game's changed so much, so you basically need a linebacker who can be a quasi defensive back or safety who could cover. He can cover tight ends, wide receivers, and even a slot back. But Jalen Jones seems to be that kind of linebacker of the 21st century, and not and also probably goes sideline to sideline very well. Got a lot of speed. So
first team All Big 12. I mean, the guy, it's a steal.
So we'll see. Again, I'm always let's see.
Yep.
And you really don't know for a couple of years because when Marcus Colston was drafted in the 7th round, they had a guy from Oregon, Steve Haas, I think. He was saying he was the one who was supposed to come in and make the team.
Right.
And even in minicamp, Colston looked lost. And all of a sudden, 3rd, 4th week of training camp, the light came on.
Right.
And he started playing. So you don't know how that's going to manifest. So there's a lot of stories. And also, too, one thing you don't want to underrate is the undrafted free agents with the Saints have done very well.
Yes, they have.
And they if you can pick up 2 or 3 undrafted free agents who make the practice squad or make the team, and they have done very well with that. And I think the Saints had a reputation that we go by our eyes and not where you picked for the most part, aside from Trevor Pennington.
Well, certainly that was Sean Payton's philosophy. I
Right.
don't care if you're making $100 a year. If you're the better player, you're going to start ahead of our golden boy. So and that makes the golden boy look over his shoulder, and play better. So we will see.
Yes.
And maybe, like I said, maybe they can pick up a couple of diamonds in the rough, and just on the free agent market, and just grab a guy or two that could actually play some minutes or maybe even start.
Well, it's amazing how you have the golf tournament going on right now. You got Jazz Fest, you got the Pelicans in the playoff, and the NFL draft still
Right.
is bigger, not bigger and all, but is right up there with it, if not in some people's expectations. Also, real quick, LSU Tigers, they're back in the conversation. I went to the game Friday night. They won 5-0. And last night they won on a walk-off with Josh Pearson hitting a walk-off single. And so the 7-13 in the SEC. If they win today, they'll be 8-13. They'll be back in the conversation. So
There you go.
there you go. All right, let's go to a break. Sunseri and Albert Nicaud live from the 18th hole of the Zurich Classic. We'll be right back on All Things Legal right after this free timeout. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. All right. Yes. It seems.
But we can hear it in our ears.
Test.
Okay.
Wait. Test.
Okay.
Okay. Test. Okay, how's that? Okay, got you.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Let me go back to mine. Is
You're
mine
right
good?
here.
How is mine?
Okay.
All right. Good.
Test. Yes, I do. Okay.
Yeah, somebody texted that it was low.
Yeah, I had the mic off. I was on Albert's.
Just for a second, that it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Kids are in the playoffs. I do want to have a little conversation about
yeah,
that.
we'll do that since we're out. Can people come back from Jazz Fest now? It's beautiful. It's windy, but it feels fantastic.
Yeah, it's overcast, but it's nice.
Yeah, I guess they start. Well, they would start right over here.
What's that?
I guess the first is that the first hole there.
Yeah, that's the other hole going.
Nine. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, these greens look beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that looks like a green. It's a fairway.
It off that. Yeah. Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. You know, we're at the golf tournament, and I always think about my good friend who's deceased now is Tommy Moore, who was on the PGA Tour. When I met him in high school, he was the number one golfer. He's from New Orleans,
Okay.
in Algiers, number one golfer in the world. He's number one, and we became very fast friends. And I'm sort of mixing personal anecdotes and law, but
So give me an idea how old he was.
he was he died in May of 1997, so I think he was around 38 at the time. I say 30, 35. He's very young, but he played at De La Salle, won several state championships. Then went to Oklahoma State, won several national championships with Scott Burnplank, Willie Wood, and some other, I think Brian Watts, maybe. And then he played in the PGA Tour. He had his best outing at English Turn on the PGA Tour at, I think in 1990, he came in the top 10. And also he had won the Boise Open on the Nike Tour. But it was very interesting with him. when I met him, he was 5'7", full beard, and I was in 8th grade. Because I met him when I was playing bitty basketball. My coach said I was going to have to cover him, and I was scared to death. And then when I walked in the first day of class, I see this guy with full beard, and at 8th grade Spanish, and I went to the teacher and I said, "This is my class. This guy looks like a senior." He said, "No, you're in my class." And I remembered. I said, "That's that guy who I was supposed to cover if they come in the tournament biddy." But he never grew in 8th grade. So he had, so that was sort of disadvantage when it came to the tour. But the thing I remember about him is he knew he wanted to be a professional golfer from the very beginning. He used to go to Lakewood before class and hit, and he'd bring his pitching wedge at lunch, hit balls into a barrel in New York.
Wow.
And here's the thing that was very interesting. We used to double date. And when we go out on a date, he would have a checklist of things he would ask to date.
So many jokes swimming around in my head. But go ahead.
He would ask, first of all, he'd ask questions. He said, "I'm going to be a pro golfer. So how do you feel about being on the road?" But he asked all these questions about being the wife or girlfriend of a golfer and all the advantages and disadvantages, which is a lot of disadvantages to it. And I was just sitting there stunned. And I'm like, "Tommy, what in the heck are you doing?"
Right.
And he said, "I got to find out. I don't have time to fool around like you guys. I don't have this. I got to find out if this person's good for me or not."
Right.
And I said, I don't have the time. I don't have the inclination. It's going to hurt my golf career. If I find out 6 months or 9 months later, this person's not cut out for me."
Right.
So he basically pulled out a sheet of paper and he had a checklist at the Bulls Corner uptown because he knew what kind of life that was.
Kind of like a PGA
It's a PGA pre-Cana, and he actually married Tracy Landrum, who's beautiful and lady now.
Yeah.
And she thrived in that, being a PGA wife. She knew exactly what it meant to be. She knew exactly, to travel, all the difficulties, following him for 18 holes, just being of service to him during his career. And so it was just an interesting sidelight on the life of a PGA golfer.
Wow.
And
again, I mean, that's when. So those guys are the guys that go to the next level, right? Some of them just, have no concept of their own self-abilities, like the vast majority of them. But there are some that, the Chris Pauls, right? The Leonard Fournettes. My daughter was cheering around the same time as he was playing football, and it was just amazing to watch because you just knew. You knew this guy was not just going to go to college; he was going to go to professional football or something. And but you could just see, you can tell.
Well, interesting enough, we used to follow Tommy. We'd come see him play. He played as a as a senior at Del Sal in the Lakewood team, and made the cut. He shot 71-71, and he played as an amateur. So when he was 17, he was a member of Lakewood, and I'd commute to Houston back. One year they had the PGA qualifying in Houston, and we were going to go see him. And his mother, Miss Helen, said, "Please don't go, because this is so brutal to watch the PGA qualify. Because you take the top 125 qualifiers, and you see grown men literally crying if they miss a 3-foot putt to miss the tour, because that's like their livelihood."
So she didn't want any distractions.
She wanted, but it was just. She said it was just brutal, just to make the tour. And how do first of all, if you do make it, you got to think you can stay in the top 125, 20 players. Then you go back to Q school. And there's 3 levels of Q schools. You get certain exemptions if you've done certain things previously. But the Q school is the most brutal event you could watch in golf. Because think of the pressure that your entire livelihood. I mean, this is, at least you got next when you play this here.
Right.
But your entire livelihood is on the line. If you miss a 3 or 4 foot putt, you're unemployed. So it was just sort of a background on the life of a professional golfer. And I would say there's a Netflix documentary, Full Swing, which I think if you're a golfing fan, it really shows behind the scenes on how golfers live.
Right.
And
Right.
now, one difference between that time is you look at the golfers now; they look like athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cut.
Well, there's a couple of them that still don't.
Well, yeah, Kurt Lowry is probably not. But back in the days of Lee Trevino, Jack Nicklaus and Charles Cody and Billy Casper. I mean, they look like beer league softball players.
Right. Right. The bowling league.
Yeah, but exactly what they do. But now these guys are like athletes, man. They're cut and they're
Absolutely.
so there's a little difference.
Real quickly to talk about the Pelicans.
Yes. Before we get along.
You know, they've had problems all year. Look, they won 49 games, right? So God bless them. They did something right. Willie Green just continues to get better each year in terms of win percentages. We've had some injury issues like every team, right? But I got to tell you, he needs to figure out. The Dyson Daniels draft was a bust. The guy's supposed to be this great defender. He just has no real quickness on defense. Our team lacks quickness, with the exception of maybe Jose, and believe it or not, Zion when he's going to the basket. But in terms of just overall quickness, that's been so exposed playing the Clippers, this young team of quick, athletic basketball players. Look, we got our 3-point game going. We can play with anybody and usually win games.
But that's on and off.
And that's on and off. You've got to have athletic. Look, Herb Jones, one of the best defenders in the league. He's long. He anticipates well. He's got great hands. I don't describe him as a quick player. The Pelicans get beat to the basket for layups, I think probably more often than any team in the NBA, because they don't have the hips to play defense, to swing back, guard somebody. He's got to find some players that have some quickness, defensively and offensively. Brandon Ingram. It's a one-on-one isolation. Everybody else stands at the 3-point line while he backs somebody down and shoots a turnaround jumper. Everybody knows that, right? So
the question is, do you keep the core intact and try to improve it, or do you start doing something different? And that's the question.
I think you trade Brandon Ingram. I think Zion has become or is very close to becoming the player you want him to be. He's dishing the ball off. He's going right a little bit. I've said it over and over. If he in the offseason learns to go right like he can go left, he's going to be really hard to stop. And he's shooting that free throw now, right? He's building that wall of 3 defenders in the paint. Yeah. Shoot the free throw, and he's making his free throws when he shoots free throws. So he's become that player I think you want. I think you trade Brandon Ingram, and you try to get some just really athletic guys that can come play.
I think you need a tall, athletic person in the middle. One common denominator among the teams that are going to survive is they got that big man who's very athletic and sort of defends goal.
With the exception of Jonas, but he's a freak.
Not
Jonas. The Joker. Jokic.
Yeah.
Not Jonas. Yeah, he looks like he's struggling to get up the court and just makes everybody look silly.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch. But you're right, they struggle when they play athletic big men. They can't do a thing about Anthony Davis. Not many teams can. But you got your Aitons, you got your players that can, Embiid, you guys that are just athletic. Jonas, God bless him, he's great offensively, but he loses out on defense because he's got heavy feet.
There we go.
Just the opposite. Larry Nance is athletic. He's a little undersized, but athletic defensively. He's not going to give you the points Jonas is going to. You need to try to find that guy that can do both. And, they're not hanging around on every street corner. Right. But they exist, right? There's only 32 teams out there. 30 teams out there.
I think Brandon's the odd man out. He sort of disappears in the playoffs too in those big games. So, all right. I mean, he'll get you there, but can he get you over?
Yep.
That's the question. All right, let's go to break. We might decide to talk more. We may or may not. We'll see. I will be right back on All Things Legal right after this brief timeout. what a golfer is. You ever watch a golf tournament? It's all about
Yeah, that was at 8:10.
yeah, yeah. I had the mic off. I was thinking, what do like golfers are like? They're into retirement. They're into businesses. You you want to talk something about the? No, no. Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Oh, looks like they're starting. No.
Yeah, I think the things open at 10.
Who do you have so far? That's yeah. There is. There is. They used to have a score show, the Prudential Score Show, and before they closed each show, they gave the Slippery Rock score. That's like in 1970s. Yep. Yep. I think they're on the East Coast, if I remember. That would be my guess. Yes. Where are they located? In Carolinas, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Okay, I knew this. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. But they could be not much. I started on. Who is he? What position do you play? Uh, Offensive. Oh, he's a center. Hmm. You see, you can pick up guards, safeties, tight ends, or good free agency. Yes. Yes, he got drafted. Where did he play? He played for as a legacy deal. Yeah, yeah. He was local as a legacy. Yes. Hey, we're back. Sunseri and Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We're from the 18th hole in the hospitality tent at the Zurich Classic, right off the UEP Long on the West Bank. Now, Albert, do you ever watch golf? Do you ever watch advertisements? It's mostly financial companies, insurance companies.
Right.
They have a certain, I guess, demographics. And in all due respect to Zurich Classic, we won't talk about insurance companies so much. So
Right.
we'll take the week off.
Yeah, right.
So,
but your point, Zurich sponsors this, right?
so they're the sponsors, and thank you, Zurich, for investing in New Orleans. Um, one of the things I want to talk about, we don't have too much time, is when you do estate planning, a lot of people's largest asset now is their IRAs or 401ks. And one thing, as far as estate planning, your will doesn't designate where your 401k goes or your IRA or your deferred compensation
Right.
plan. And a lot of people, when they, I guess, get our age or start estate planning, they're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Right. Well, and here's another thing that you need to make sure of. So I had this happen to me. I don't know how much time we have in this segment.
We got about 3 minutes here.
All right, real quickly. So there was a guy who had a blended marriage, his second wife, but they were married for 26 years. He was married to 26 years to his second wife, and they didn't have any children together, and he had children from the first marriage. So he's got two $500,000 IRAs, right? So he leaves $1.5 million IRA to the second one, $1.5 million IRA to the children, right? Well, all of a sudden, there's this dispute in the succession, and they say, wait a minute, he didn't have the right. He had the right to leave his half of one of them to his wife. Right. He didn't have the right to leave all of it to his children because that's community property,
Right.
And the wife owns half of that second IRA, and so that retirement account. So there was a fight over that, and clearly that was not his intention. His intention was, I'm going to leave my kids half, leave my wife half, everybody's happy. So you have to be careful. Well, the financial companies have gotten smart, and they basically now have a rule: if you leave your designated beneficiary in your retirement account to anyone other than your spouse has to sign off on it. Yep. And so they have to sign off on it and make sure, because they don't want to get caught with, because they've been sued a few times with, hey, look, you paid out this money to these kids. Well, I own half of it, so where's my half? And they've had to pay up. So they realized, okay, we're going to make sure that the spouse is going to sign off on this designation of beneficiary.
Right. And with people, I guess if you designate a specific beneficiary in your IRA or a 401k, that overrides anything you put in the will. In other words, that trumps that. Now, The only time that would be subject to a will or be maybe without a will is if the primary beneficiary is not designated, or that the primary beneficiary is deceased, predeceased, right? There's no contingent beneficiary.
And then it goes into your estate, and then it becomes part of your estate asset.
Right. So, a lot of times when you're reviewing this with your HR person or your financial advisor or whoever, you want to make sure that you have the specific beneficiary. And as Albert said, if it's not your spouse, chances are you're going to have to sign something to say that. Or if you, and also be sure to have a contingent beneficiary in case your primary beneficiary is not around or predeceased.
Exactly.
But but it's interesting if you're going to watch the tournament at home, you're going to see all these financial services People, you have a couple in the bathtub on the beach or something, holding hands, for retirement, and to those type of commercials. So, but let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, live from the 18th hole of the Zurich Classic. We'll be right back after this brief timeout. Pretty much. Who's got about a minute?
Doug, check over the connection again.
Is that better? Better? Hello? Test?
Hey, I'm test. How about test 1, 2, 3? How am I doing?
Test.
All
right. No, right here. It's input. Here, right here.
How about now?
That's better.
Yeah, that's interesting because this is that's a balance thing.
But that, I think, input, return.
Okay, well, good. Yeah,
input
believe it or not,
goes.
there's a it's a balance left right, and if you turn it right, it goes up.
Yeah, I think that's input. That goes to a microphone.
Okay, there you go.
I think. See, this is left right here. Yeah,
All
this
right,
is it. This is it. Yeah, we got it. Do we have any text? Yeah. Want to do?
There you
You
go.
want? How long are we gonna have? How much? No, you can do it. That's okay. We'll go in and out. Let's just go on in and out. We don't have much. Yeah, that's all we need to. We do that. Okay. LSU's climbing back. They play A&M next week. Well, 2. Yeah, 2 or 3. I know. Yeah. Kansas City. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the NFL did that.
Right.
I like the way the Eagles approach the draft. They do good. They do good. I mean, that's what they do with Jalen Hurts, man. I mean, they just. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we're in the
Yeah.
we're in the hospitality suite. We're gonna hang out. I don't know if Doug, you're gonna take a walk around or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a. Yeah. All right. All right, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Finished hour number 1. We're live from the 18th hole. The Zurich Classic will be on till 10 o'clock. So we're going to go to national news and local news. We'll be back for hour number 2, and we might actually talk about law.
Yeah, so, sorry about the microphone problems. A lot of folks have been texting in about it. I think we've got it resolved. If we don't, let us know. But yeah, we'll be back in just a few minutes, about 8 or 10 minutes. So come back and join us. We're having a great time up here at the Zurich Classic.
All right, so we'll see you after national, about 10 minutes, national news, local news, and we'll see you all things legal for hour number 2. Stay tuned. See you in 10. Yeah. Hey, Mark.
I'm Peter King, and just released CBS News poll finds President Biden and former President Trump neck and neck. Battleground states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
President Biden leads Donald Trump by 2 points in Michigan, while Trump has a 1-point edge over Biden in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. States that Biden won in 2020, but where Trump won in 2016.
CBS News Deputy Surveys Director Jennifer DePinto.
Since campaign, I think an argument about the neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump are listening to the way positive feelings of voters in Michigan, Pennsylvania, or Wisconsin.
Many of Donald Trump's supporters say they'll support him even if he's convicted in a criminal trial, trying to hide hush money payments. South Carolina Senator Graham told CNN stated he's among his convicted and these trials will be changed by being forever. I think all these trials will be difficult. I think it's selective prosecution. I think what's going on in New York is an outrage. And rough weather is well underway for the Midwest. The line of storms stretching from San Antonio to Detroit follows a series of tornadoes in several states, including Manchester, that left one person dead in Oklahoma. The governor has declared a state of emergency there. Weather Channel meteorologist Felicia Combs has more on what's next.
Not only are we worried about very large hail, tornadoes, damaging wind gusts, but also that possibility for flash flooding across this region before all is said and done this weekend.
Palestinian President Abbas has told an economic forum in Riyadh that an attack on Rafah would be disastrous. It's Gaza attempted and it's only one small strike that would force them to flee the Gaza Strip and be the biggest catastrophe in the history of the Palestinian people would happen. Abbas heard through an interpreter says he wants the U.S. to step in to prevent that Israeli attack on Rafah. In this country, campus demonstrations against the Gaza war are threatening to cancel a rite of passage for a generation that's already missed so much of its youth. CBS's Michael George, New York.
At Columbia, commencement is less than 3 weeks away and in danger of being delayed or postponed.
Kind of worried about my graduation. Seems a little bit minimal in terms of, seeing what's happening around the world.
And it's worth noting that the seniors graduating this year are part of the COVID generation. Many of them also missed their high school graduation ceremonies.
This is CBS News. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sorry.
He saw his greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
She needs a construction manager.
More now. Indeed can help her hire great people fast. Schedule a done first. Call from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/benefits. $75 for your first job. 20,000 apply.
Yeah, I kept trying to get get internet service, but it wouldn't come through for some reason.
On here?
No.
Anything that's besides microwave. Yeah. I learned the hard way. You need to contact financial. So get information on what test it dies. All right. Yeah. Games, yes. Right. Played in London. Yeah. They're playing a game in Brazil this year. In 1978, we played the Eagles in Mexico, the first preseason game. Oh, sure. Wow, in February, that'd be. Well, it would be interesting if you play that extra game in another city, like the Saints would play in. Well, but like where a city would adopt you. Like you play the Saints would play maybe in. Yeah. Yeah. Check.
Check out.
I missed. There we go. We're good. No, there's no. Hey, we're back. Hour number 2. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Give us a call or text us. The open heart talk and text line 260-1870. We're live Sunday morning from the 18th hole at the Zurich Classic, overlooking the hospitality tent, and Albert's arranged for us to be here. And this is the what Hospitality Foundation tent, is that?
Well, yeah. So it's all of course, Zurich Classic, and the Four Kids Foundation is the main foundation that is in charge of this whole event, running the whole event, and the philanthropy, I guess, that's Zurich has chosen to become the recipient of the funds of everything that's donated, and giving them a lot of leeway, it's one of their biggest, if not the biggest, fundraiser that the Four Kids Foundation performed. In conjunction with that, one of the things that they wanted to do with the Four Kids Foundation was make this the best food venue. In fact, last year, the Best of Zurich, which is the hospitality tents at 17 and 18, was voted the best food and hospitality on the PGA Tour. And that is all the result of the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation. And again, I'm on the board with that foundation. It is made up of hospitality folks, heavy hitter restaurant owners and personnel, hoteliers, different people in the industry, purveyors, etc. And our mission is twofold. One is culinary education. We donate money to various cooking schools and places where underprivileged people can get hands-on training. Not everybody is cut out for college or wants to go to college, and so this offers training to people in the culinary arts and just working in kitchens and working in restaurants and hospitality and what's expected of you. And so many of these people just have no concept of being on time, and being appropriately dressed and all those things. So we offer grant money from our funds to some of those other nonprofits that offer those services to the general public, and it just only comes back to help the hospitality industry, right? The other thing we do is crisis grants. That's one of our primary functions. That's where most of the money goes, that is collected by the Hospitality Foundation. So, you go to a restaurant, you have a waiter, that give you great service. They're usually full of personality, and they have a house fire, for instance, right? They live in an apartment and they've lost everything. Well, we help them get back on their feet. The crisis turned out pretty employer. It's very, very stringently vetted, so your funds are protected and make sure it goes to the right thing. But we've had somebody who had to have this surgery who couldn't have the surgery because they didn't have a copay, and we helped them with that. Because got a bad accident and their fault. There was no big lawsuit recovery at the end, so we kind of help them until they can get back on their feet. So, and this is times a few hundred pages. So we that is primarily our mission. And it gives back to those people that run the engine of hospitality, which is the biggest financial impact of it. Certainly, that was chapter, the front end chapter we started it, North as well. And we do a lot of good things. The Zurich Classic is one of them, and we run all the food for the 17th and 18th greens, and some of the best restaurants in town. I mean, I'm looking around, I see Jack Rose and Mellow and Desmond and Galatoire's and Katie's and Drago's and actually, and on and on and on. Also, Crescent City Barbecue, and just I'm sorry, Mid City Barbecue. It's just it's some of the best food you're going to have, and so when the golfers and even the tourists coming in town come to these tents, they're blown away by the food, and actually the locals are too. I was to some of the stuff that they're serving.
And yeah, And one of the things also is if you listen to the draft coverage in WWL yesterday, they interviewed each of the players that were picked.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked, what do you know about New Orleans? Have you been to New Orleans?
Right.
Each and every one of them said the food.
Yep.
I mean, and you had, a kid from Northern Iowa picked, a Texas kid picked, you had, one from Pittsburgh, Means.
Right.
They all said the food. And so that, as far as our cultural economy is concerned, and this, ultimate survival and thriving in New Orleans,
Right.
this industry is probably in our top 3 industries.
No question about it. And this was our opportunity. Our very first, this kind of started as a brainchild thing after Katrina. And our very first grant recipient was Miss Leah Chase. And she had lost her whole kitchen in Katrina and was just fit to be tied. And, that we raised money back then and donated the money to her to purchase kitchen equipment so she could get Dookie Chase back up and running. In fact, Dook's going to be next door at the Big Tent, and Dookie Chase's restaurant is going to be serving today. Again, in the other tent, there are 4 different food vendors. There are a couple of there that are there permanently, but there are 4 different ones each day of the tour. So it mixes up the food a little bit in terms of what's available. But Dook's going to be there today, and again, Miss Leah, I can't say enough about her. The Lee Circle, I would love if they would make it Leah Circle.
There you go. That would be good.
Oh, I think it would be unbelievable. I talked to Dook about it, actually. I'd love to be able to figure out how we can do that, because she was the person that brought this city together, and she represents hospitality and for decades and decades and decades. And now Dook was the 4th generation of it.
Well, if you talk about the 2 things that bring diverse backgrounds together, are one thing, sports, music, and food.
Yep.
And that's why one of the things that transcends anything, our backgrounds, our differences, how we view life, religion, politics, and that sort of thing. Food, music, and sports transcends that.
Yep.
And thank God, I think at times when there's upheaval, New Orleans doesn't maybe participate in upheaval as much as everyone else because of those 3 factors.
We win a Super Bowl. We don't turn over cars and burn places down. Right. We celebrate and hug each other in the street.
That's right.
We've grown up together, black, white, every race. It's this melting pot here in New Orleans, and we went to school together. We've worked together, and we're not buying into the division, right? We're not part of that. But anyway, so the Hospitality Foundation just gives back to those frontline workers in the kitchen. Somebody's brother gets shot in a drive-by. We help with the burial arrangements, and just those types of things that the Hospitality Foundation does for people that you just don't even realize have such a need. And, there was a situation where a bunch of windows were being smashed around a restaurant, a bunch of these hospitality windows. But you know what? It might be a $300 window to get replaced, but when you're struggling to pay your rent every month, that's a big deal. So those are the folks that we're able to help out and give back to through this fundraising. And this is one of our major events. We have a chef's charity event this summer. It likely will be in July or August this year. And it's a big event. We also do Horses and Hops for Cops and raise money for the mounted police to maintain their stables and their horses and things like that. So it's a great foundation, and they know how to put on a food event.
Well, and it's great that they get the support because we need to support the restaurant industry. That's what brings people here from all over the world.
Yep.
I mean, if you could be halfway around the world, you're going to say, you say New Orleans. First thing they say is food.
Yep.
And so, great. Let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Jay from Canada. He's got a question regarding wills and IRAs. Hey, Jay, you on all things legal? right, brother. Sure, I do. Sure, absolutely, absolutely remember you, Jay.
Yep. Yeah. But as a New Orleans policeman, how many people of different races did you work with? Y'all were all blue. That's all. You worked together and you did things together. You had each other's back. It was, and that's how it is. I think this city is different, and it irks me to see people try to divide us because,
Especially mayors from Los Angeles who try to divide us.
well, or just people from out of state that just don't know how things are here and how. We've been working in restaurants. I mean, I grew up working in restaurants and kitchens and, worked with these folks and we were just workers at a restaurant. We didn't, it just never came up. It was not and we joke with each other and have a great time. No, of course not. Right. Well, yeah. So you're anything that's beneficiary driven, right? Like a life insurance policy, an IRA, a 401k, any kind of retirement account that you might have. So I mean, even if you have something with the police department, right, with some kind of retirement account, that is separate and apart. That's beneficiary driven. So what you have to do is if you do ever draft a will or have a will drafted for you, then you want to make sure that you consider those 401ks and those retirement accounts because they're not going to be part of your will. That's not part of they're beneficiary driven unless you don't name a beneficiary or unless your beneficiary is your estate, which I wouldn't recommend you necessarily do. But if you don't have if you have a separate IRA or some sort of retirement account, you want to make sure that you have a beneficiary and a contingent beneficiary. So you might want to name your spouse, and upon her death, you name your children equally. And that's a typical beneficiary designation for those types of plans. And then everybody gets it equally in the event one spouse passes away from the other. The big thing that we were talking about this morning was that your wife, how long you guys have been married, if you've been married for work history, then that retirement account belongs to both. It's community property. It's if a man works his whole life and has $500,000 in his retirement account, then the spouse owns half of that retirement account. And so if he's going to designate a beneficiary other than that spouse, and Doug could talk more about this in terms of a divorce and how that's split up. But if he's going to leave that money to someone other than the spouse, that spouse has to sign off on it because that's half of her money.
Right. But
Correct. Correct.
That's according to your plan. Yeah. No.
Well, she would have to list you as a beneficiary, right? And if she doesn't, they will have asked you. And look, depending on how long ago that she did a beneficiary designation, they may not have a consent form. But I think if she goes to change it to someone else other than you, then they will ask for a consent form to where you have to sign off on it. Because in reality, all she's really entitled to designate to a third party is half of that fund, because the other half is community property belongs to you. And Doug, what happens in the event of a divorce?
Basically what you do is you do what's called a quadro, qualified domestic relations order, where they do a computation as to the time period contributions were made, or when the IRA was open, time periods of contributions were made, and the time period that you were married during that IRA period. And they do a mathematical computation to determine who the spouses, who gets what as far as the spouse whose IRA it is and the spouse who they're divorcing. So it's a very mechanical computation that is very uh, done by specialists, and so it would be a qualified domestic relationship. But so you got now, Jay. Let me ask you a question off topic. All right, this is for you. Um, would Tell me about how did crowd control? It's amazing during Mardi Gras that y'all do. Police NOPD does such a wonderful job of keeping the crowd controlled. What is it about the New Orleans Police Department as opposed to other police departments where they have that knowledge on how to deal with this so effectively during the crowds? Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't even have a parade, right? Because all your riders would be on.
You'd have one shell square locked up with people with every floor. They'd be for beer drinking.
Right, right. Have a talk with. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Being. Yeah.
Well, of course.
Right. You could. You just be beeped.
Right. Yeah, we got the finger on the button.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Sure. Right. Well, and I remember when my brother was a policeman way back when, and he would work, man, these get that overtime right during Mardi Gras. And what people have to understand is come the day before Mardi Gras Day, these guys have been working, 12, 14, 16-hour shifts every day, getting lack of sleep, and you probably don't want to cross them. At some point, it's like, okay, guys, we're tired. We've had enough. We've seen too many people, get out of hand. We're going to just start, putting people in the paddy wagon and taking them downtown because, we're done with it. But it's a thankless job, and man, I tell you, we appreciate everything that the New Orleans Police Department does. And I know you're long gone from there, but the current NOPD and all police officers,
Thank you.
yes, we've got your back because I know you've got ours, and we appreciate everything you do, trying to keep us all safe.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Jay, don't be a stranger. Okay?
Yeah, that's a problem.
All right, thanks. Let's take a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend orders. We'll be right back. With the guy on.
He said, look, you're facing this way and nobody's here. So, but he said, if anybody on the tour sees this banner,
I wonder, does the advertising?
yeah, advertising. another station. So I told him I'll take it down to the next place. He ain't got
What's this?
He's one
It's
of,
like,
he's
get
one
off
of-
my lawn.
He's one of the tour directors. You know.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. I mean, I'll leave it up.
Let's just leave it. I mean,
Get
let's
out
just-
of here, kid.
I mean, we get them. I mean, we gave him 20 minutes of free publicity in the hospitality.
No, I know, but he's still here.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
But don't-
I'm
Huh?
he's still here. He's in it.
Get off my lawn. They drive me crazy. That's why I'm never on committees.
On the what?
That's why I never get on committees. I don't have I'm not patient enough.
Let me know
You always talk to us. No, one of the 4 kids people want us to take the WWL banner down.
Yeah, he said if anybody from the tour sees it, they'd be.
4 kids. It's like, get off my lawn. I know. I'm such a bad committee person. Because, like, when people do that, I just. All right. Money Plug today next. You know, it's similar. I think we'll sort of stay on the States. Yeah, so it's a sort of a golf topic. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I think they start around 9. I see a few crowds at the first tee, and so yeah, my car's actually my car actually shut down on the way here. It's overheated, so I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna do. I turned it off and started again. Let's just let it cool off. I think I'm gonna
Yes.
I can't believe what was that about? I thought he was good. I thought he would be like a late round pick. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we're back. Sunseri and Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We're live from the 18th hole of the Zurich Classic. Coming up at 10 o'clock today, it's the Saints Spring Recap. Huddle up with Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak, and Charlie Long for the latest on their takes on the Saints 2024 draft. And also you get commentary from head coach Dennis Allen and GM Mickey Loomis, and interviews with the newest players, and talk about how they size up with the NFC South. And I'm sure they'll thank the Atlanta Falcons for using their first pick on penalties. Also, after that, 12:30, LSU versus Auburn. Pre-game 12:30, 1 o'clock first pitch. Tigers. If they win this one, we're back in the conversation.
Yeah. Explain that to me, because a week ago it was like, oh God, they're
Well, no,
they got to win out kind of thing.
Last week they were 3-12, and I said they would have to go
10-3 or something like that.
about 11-4 at the worst. 11-4, 10-5, and so they've won 3 since then. So so if they would have to go theoretically 8-5. They got to go 8-5, almost 8-3, 8-4. So they're a third of the way there. But since last Sunday, they've won 3. Right. If they won today, they win 4. And if they sweep Auburn, they play next week. They play A&M. If they take 2 from there, they'll be sitting pretty where they get into the tournament, and they might not host a regional, but they're in. And 3 years ago, they started out 1-8 in the SEC, and they won the national championship. Mississippi State 2 years ago didn't start so well either, and they won it. So if you're in, it's a different season. And so this time last week, I wasn't very optimistic. If they would have lost one of the last 3 games, to go. And also, Albert, one of the things we're talking about since we're golf tournament, I think we'll talk about golf tournament issues. If you're watching the advertisements, you see the financial issues. You also see some of those other medications for
lots of the medications.
And
right.
You see.
Couple sitting in separate footed tubs, that kind of thing.
So you had those, I guess, but one of the things I got a call Friday from someone who wanted to do estate planning, and he said, "Well, I want to make sure that I don't pay taxes." And so my normal first question is, "You own a football team?" If you don't, that's probably not an issue. But there is a death tax that people are concerned about. Most people don't even think about it now because if you die, the first $13 million of your estate is not taxed. Then if you marry, $1 million is not taxed. So that's really not so much a concern as far as death tax. Now, one thing that is sort of interesting is in 2026, I believe it's scheduled to go down to $5 million. And so therefore, there's some people who may have to ranges.
Well, keep in mind too, it's $5 million per person, right?
If you're married, it's $10 million.
So if you're married, it's $10 million. So, and you can leave an unlimited amount to your spouse. So there's some financial tricks that you want to put into a will to kind of save some of the death taxes, because they start at a pretty high rate and go up to a pretty high rate.
I mean, they're about 40%, but it's an issue. Now, one of the things you could talk about is, people who own real estate or stocks. If you could give an explanation as to what is the stepped-up basis in connection with an estate.
Well, and that's where a lot of the folks that are, against the whole stepped-up basis, make their argument. So let's say I buy a piece of property and it's worth $100,000, and then I die. I've held it for 20 years and it's worth $400,000. Well, I have a gain in value, right? And so, but upon my death, my heirs receive that at a stepped-up basis, which means the basis for taxation is no longer $100,000. So let's say during my lifetime, if I sell this house, and let's not use personal residence. Right. But let's say I have an investment property, and it's $100,000 I purchase it for, and I put a little into it, whatever. And then eventually, I sell it for $400,000. So theoretically, there's a $300,000 gain, and so you would pay a capital gains tax on that $300,000. But if you leave it until you die and you leave it in your estate, then your heirs get what is called a stepped-up basis, meaning the basis not being $100,000, the basis is now going to be $400,000. So in the old days, there were appraisers that would appraise property, and back in the day, and they would appraise property, and you would tell them, hey, look, if there's a gray area, give me an appraisal on the low end because we don't want to pay inheritance taxes on that money when it gets transferred. But in modern times, again, depending on now we're looking at, hey, you want to appraise a little bit on the high end because if you turn around and sell it for a little bit, more, you're not going to pay as much capital gains. So anyway, so that's kind of where the stepped-up basis came from.
Yeah, let's go to a break.
Yeah,
We'll take a break. Sunseri and Albert Nicaud, the Weekend Lawyers. We have a special guest, Tommy Sandanovich, who I just saw his picture on the school board a second ago, and he's here in person now from Rocco's and Chairman.
And he's got a tie on, so it must be important to that.
And he's not going to a funeral, so
That's
there
right.
you go.
Right.
So we're going to take a break.
Might be going to the Pelicans funeral.
That's right. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, returning with Tommy Sandanovich. After this break, we'll see you in about 60 seconds.
The wind is really bad when you're listening to it on the radio.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, he's not hearing it on the station. But you know what? I'm telling you, this was...
Mic check. How's that mic test? Is that test? Okay, this is the third mic. Okay, you good. Okay.
So that's where the wind was coming from. That microphone.
No, I had it off.
I know when you picked it up, I heard
Is
it.
it
No, I
because
just
you don't
turned
have
it on
this-
a second ago.
Is it because you don't have this on it?
That could be. Yeah, that's it. Well, I guess it fell off my bag.
Softens it, I guess. I don't know.
No, I think it's the muffins.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right. So what do we want to talk about?
Whatever you want.
All right. So what is your position now with the tournament?
I'm the tournament chairman.
Okay. And
That means I get to give away a bunch of $1 million. I can talk on behalf of 4 kids a little bit.
Okay.
How much the charities that they give
Because I
to.
talked a little bit about the Salary
Okay.
Foundation. I wasn't
I can talk about 4 Kids Foundation. I can talk about Rocco's Now. Because I'm actually I'm actually with the people from Zurich that, the financial impact and the money that
Caller,
they
we're not
bring
going to take any
in
more callers.
because of TV,
Okay.
the visuals on TV. I got. Okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you about the Superdome Commission. Superdome Commission.
That's it.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your Weekend Lawyers, all things. We're here with Chairman of the 4 Kids Foundation, correct?
No,
Of the
tournament chairman.
Tournament chairman. There you
Tournament chairman. Get that right.
go. All right.
I don't get a title like that often.
No, we're gonna work it then. Also,
I knew him when.
owner, manager, do everything
yeah,
for
right.
Dragos.
Yeah.
and also on the Superdome Commission, which we'll talk a little bit about. If we got time. Thank you for coming, Tommy.
My pleasure. And I will say this: the first time the Four Kids Foundation Zurich Classic has somebody that's not a golfer as chairman, and it's something that I guess I got enough BS where they want that, and it's.
Have you ever played around the golf?
If I did, it was in college.
So
definitely playing around.
Well,
back last century.
You texted me on your way here, and you brought up a good point about the hospitality. It's the second largest employer in the state behind healthcare.
Behind healthcare, the restaurant, the hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, actually the restaurant industry as a whole is the second highest employer in the state of Louisiana behind healthcare. Wow. Very impressive. And let me tell you, we've got a lot of industries. We've got, lots of things that bring money and this and that. But I got to tell you, the hospitality industry for decades, not for the last few years, not after a tragedy or after a hurricane or anything like that. We have always been the backbone of the economy of Louisiana. People come here. When the Saints schedule comes out, when the NFL schedule comes out, all the other teams that are coming to New Orleans, when they're fans, they say we're going to pick one game. Well, now there's two cities because Vegas is one of them. Right. But everybody circles New Orleans. That's where we're going to go. And the same thing for LSU too. When LSU is, when LSU has big games, and people, even though it's in Baton Rouge, they circle that weekend because we're going to New Orleans. We're going to drive to Baton Rouge and come back. Right. So it's awesome. And what really helps with like Zurich Classic, like we're on national TV. CBS has us on international TV for that matter. And like when they've got great golf. It's a unique setup. It's team format, and so when they break away to a commercial,
the cutaways,
the cutaways. What are they showing? They're showing Tripod and the alligator walking across the fairway. The fairway. They're showing the St. Louis Cathedral with the Cabildo and the Patavla buildings. They're showing one of the riverboats going up and down the river. They're showing people shucking oysters. And so when you're sitting on the sofa and your buddies say, "Man, we're watching golf," but you know what? Our golf trip this year. Never mind Florida or California. Let's go down to New Orleans. Look how cool that place is. Yep. Not only are we going to play golf, we're going to party and have fun.
Exactly.
And that the value, that part of the value is second to none. Yep. Where people are watching us,
we're showing off something good about the city and the state, right?
And this is going on while we have Jazz Fest.
Right. Right. Oh, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Is just the number of people. I was shocked that this venue has been sold out for 3 straight days. Yeah. And there's Jazz Fest going on. And there's
an NBA playoff game.
NBA playoff games, and 2 of them during the tournament. Yeah, and so it's been it's really grown. Let me tell you, the course. I'm looking at these fairways; they look like putting greens.
Well, the Zurich people that really know golf, I was talking to them the other day, and they said that this is without a doubt the absolute best this course has been in 20. They've been here for 20 years. Right, they're a 20-year sponsor. They're one. We have. Four Kids Foundations has one of the longest running sponsorships in the whole PGA right now with 20 years. And it looks like that everything's working towards Zurich re-upping with us, and because they love the format. It's unique. They're one of the people don't realize they're one of the premier sponsors on the whole PGA Tour, and we have them here in New Orleans. Right.
What do you do as chairman of Zurich Classic?
Well, you know what? I get to talk about the Four Kids Foundation, which, we're all out here. I've got 4 beautiful, healthy kids. I've got a beautiful, healthy granddaughter. Not everybody is as blessed as we are. There are kids out there that need help, that just need help. And with charity right now, with the economy the way it is right now, even charities are struggling. Last year, the Four Kids Foundation gave $2.8 million to local charities in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. That's a huge number. That's a lot of money. This year, our goal, again, I'm always talking, and, I was saying my goal this year was for us to raise, $3 million. Well, damn, we sold out every day almost. Right. I want $3.5 million going to charity. There you go. And I'm putting pressure on Steve Worthy and those guys, and and Mark Romick, and dude, we need to give. We're making it. And then we're promoting. We're doing a great job. We're doing a great job. What's better than doing a great job? Doing an even better job. That's what I'll make a bigger difference.
Well, and that's the key, because how many times, right, do you get hit up as a restaurant owner for, hey, I need a pan of pasta for this, I need some food donated, I need some gift certificates.
All the time,
all
yeah.
the time. And what happens is so many restaurants have struggled since the pandemic, since the interest rates and everything else, and the economy's gone the way it's gone. So people are really tightening their belt when it comes to that, and it's just so good to see that this event is actually on course to make more money this year for the 4Kids Foundation than last year. That's awesome.
And again, 4Kids Foundation, that's money for children's charities.
Exactly.
And there's other things that we get that 4Kids gives too, like the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation, which makes which does a great job for our industry, and when our employees are in need and they don't have any other avenues, the Hospitality Foundation steps up and does the best they can to help them.
All right, let's go to a break. I want to ask Tommy about the Superdome Commission.
Really cool. Bird's time. I went.
Take a break. We'll do it on the back
take a break, and we go to on the other side. We're going to ask about that. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, with Tommy Sindanovich, chairman of the Zurich Classic and also a member of the Superdome Commission. We'll be right back after this brief timeout. So we're about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes, and we have 1 minute to get out.
Hey, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes. What do we have? Yeah,
that's good. So yeah, one of the things we
Right. Just I tell you what. Let's just go into it.
This is it. We'll finish up.
We'll get back. Okay. Perfect.
So we'll have 7 minutes. All right. Cool.
Think about if we didn't have the Superdome, we'd be Alexandria, Louisiana, probably.
If we didn't have the Saints,
I know.
if we didn't have the Saints. Never mind. If we didn't have the Saints, people got no clue. The value that an NFL franchise brings to.
You're talking about the cutaways.
I'm feeling rain, man. What the heck?
It's just a little bit right now.
When you talk about the cutaways, I mean, the cities like Charleston, where they pay like $20 million.
Vegas, their budget to market their cities in like millions and millions and millions. They're really smidgen.
I know.
I'm doing an interview. I'll be finished anytime after 8 minutes from now.
I always tell a story. I said when I was an agent, they had a vice president of Patriots called me and said, I need to come down and talk to you about a contract. So he comes down, he says, I want to go to eat Drago's. I want to eat Drago's. He said, I want to go to Tipitina's. And I see Tipitina's, Dr. John. Next morning he gets on the plane, he goes back and say a word.
There's 2 cities in the NFL now, but New Orleans and Vegas are the unique cities on the,
All right, we're back.
I think it's y'all's mics. This one's covered.
I know, but your wind's coming this way.
Sunseri Albert Nicaud, Wicked Lawyers, live from the 18th Green Classic here with Tommy Sindanovich, who is the chairman of the Zurich Foundation and
Zurich Classic, yeah.
Zurich Classic, and also the Superdome Commission. And
yeah, so I understand you're a unique opportunity.
Other restaurant owners get on the Superdome Commission.
A lot of people get these appointments because they make donations and stuff like that. Well, I went to Governor Landry as he was, after he was elected, and I said, Jefferson Parish has always been underrepresented on the Superdome Commission. The hospitality industry has really never been represented. I'm with you. New Orleans Restaurant Association, the Louisiana Restaurant Association, the National Restaurant Association, checked in with a lot of our politicians, a lot of the media people that come from around the country. They come in and talk to the restaurant. I get to see all these people and communicate with them and talk to them. We need hospitality represented on the Superdome Commission. It's actually the Louisiana Stadium and Exhibition Commission, but everybody nicknames it the Superdome Commission. And he said, you're right. 2 weeks later, I get an interview. A week later, I get appointed.
Wow.
And which really says a lot, that he really it made a point with him that hey, he's right. New Orleans is about hospitality. The Superdome, the arena, Shrine on Airline, TPC Golf Course, the Hilario Center, the new sports complex that's being built over here on the West Bank, Champion Square. All of those things, do they revolve around sports? Absolutely. But you know what else? Also hospitality. You know how many people go to those those venues because they're in town for a sporting event, but they're eating, they're drinking. You need to have somebody that's kind of a little focused, that understands the value of CBS, like we were talking earlier, when CBS does a cutaway or coming in, while they're during the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, a lot of people come here, they spend a lot of money in restaurants, they spend a lot of money in hotels. That's not the real value of the Super Bowl to a city. The real value is that residual value when you're sitting, like this past year, when we were sitting down, watching the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. How many people around the country, around the world say, you know what, I want to go to Vegas. That residual value, getting your name out there, the name recognition, the repetition of having your name out there, and you're in people's mind. And this year we have a lot going on. We've got the Zurich Classic, we've got Super Bowl, then the Zurich Classic is coming right back behind it. We've got the Rolling Stones playing during Jazz Fest now. Just all of these things happening. We're in the middle of a huge roll. Superdome is going to be ready for Essence Fest, which is coming up in July. They're at the back end, finishing up a $340 million renovation, and I got a couple of weeks ago I got to walk into the stadium and look at it. Talk about the construction site. I mean, they have cranes inside on the football field. They got cranes up there, and they broke everything up and putting it back together. They're definitely on course to have everything finished. So that there's going to be a couple nicknames that are going to be that have to wait until this after Essence. But during football season, we are done. We're playing ball, and we're playing ball in a first-class, top-notch facility that is
amazing. The foresight those architects had in 1974, 75 when that was done.
Yeah,
it's still a world-class facility 50 years later.
And this is not a Band-Aid. This is like really.
Sure.
This is the fountain of youth again for the Superdome, and
that's awesome.
And it's going to be. It's beautiful. I walked through there the other day. So some of the things that we're talking about now, the Pelicans have their contract coming up, and they're going to try to tie in a renovation, because our arena is as nice as it is. It's not up to NBA standards, and we need to get that. We need to have a new contract with the Pelicans. That's going to keep them here, and then in return, say we're going to upgrade. We're going to add seats. We're going to figure out how we're going to do it, and keep those guys here too, because New Orleans is it's always been a football city, but now it's starting to become basketball, and people walk up to the bar now and they're starting to talk. They're talking Zion, and Ingram, and the fact those two guys playing together, and the wins and playoffs, and
I mean, the team won 49 games.
Yeah.
All right,
Got a great season.
I'm gonna put you in the spot. Do you see any future utilization of the dome that hadn't been used that you'd like to see it be used for?
Well, obviously, it's a facility. I'm all about. I'm a businessman.
Right.
I want to do whatever we can to bring revenue, whether it's to the Superdome, which in return brings revenue to the city and the state. And it needs to be a concert facility. It needs to World Cup soccer. There's a big push right now. Tim Falcon is working with the NOLA Gold in rugby, and they're talking about bringing one of their World Cup games here into the Superdome, one of the playoff games of the World Cup. And those are serious conversations that are happening. These are not pipe dreams.
Right.
These are serious conversations that people are having. And then we're talking. We've got money, and we're trying to get a little bit more money to redo the Shrine on Airline, to turn it into more of a rectangular stadium so it can hold soccer. Because our community really needs, with the demographics that we have, people love soccer. So we need to bring soccer in, which in turn will do rugby and football, and put concert facility out there too.
Perfect. Tommy, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it.
We'll see you giving a trophy out to the winners.
Yeah, I'm going to see if the guy's going to give me a tip. Hopefully he'll give me a tip for giving them. I'm going to give out those 2 big checks, and maybe I get a tip.
There you go.
Restaurant guy. Right?
That's right.
I was a waiter and a bartender after all.
That's right. You started. That's right. All right. Well, thanks, Howie, for joining us, and good luck to you in the rest of the day. And we'll any parting shots?
That's about all. No, just next year, book your tickets in advance if you want to get in this venue. It is well worth it. It's a couple $100, and it's money well spent.
All right. Stay tuned for the Saints draft recap with Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak, and Charlie Long. After that, stay tuned for the LSU Auburn game, Game 3. We're going to take the sweep today. Pre-game 12:30, 1 o'clock. All right.
Nice seeing you. Haven't talked to you in a long time. Nice seeing you.
That's all right. We got it.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good. I guess they opened at 10, huh?
I'm just going to set these chairs up, but that's all.
You want to... Let's see. Hey, man. Oh. All right. Yeah, it's probably...
Go get your wristband.
On to